So welcome back to our fourth episode of Meet the CEO. Today we have Ross Evans, who is the Managing Director for Kidney Wales. So thanks, Ross, for coming on. It's really great to have you. And yeah, I think, a lot of you have seen what's been going and what we've been doing so far on our charity newsletter. And it's really exciting to get you on. So I think, first of all, hello, and tell us a little bit about Kidney Wales then.
Yeah, cheers, Izzy. Well, first of all, thanks for inviting me on for this chat. I've seen the others that you record, and I think they're really informative and interesting and really important for people to see, sort of have a bit of an insight into the third sector, because not many people are really aware of what it's all about a lot of the time. But yeah, to kick things off then, in terms of Kidney Wales, not many people know about Kidney Wales actually, but they've got a history that dates back over 50 years. Take you back to the late 60s, so sort of 1967 actually. There was only one renal unit in Wales, so obviously quite a bit different to what there is now, and that was actually in Cardiff, so the Cardiff Royal Infirmary. And there was sort of really limited treatment for individuals that had total kidney failure. There wasn't the amount of dialysis machines sort of on the wards that there are now. And actually 3 local businessmen got together and approached Cardiff Royal Infirmary and sort of wanted to support in any way they could. And the way they initially wanted to support was by the purchasing of dialysis machines or medical equipment that could help in terms of what they were doing. The hospital actually said they've got a plan to try and increase those numbers of machines anyway. So how sort of else can they use the money that they were trying to raise and bring forward? And they actually suggested looking to research. So not a lot of research was taking place either. So they turned their attention to research, and that's sort of where the charity was established. So again, 1967, that's when Kidney Wales was formalised and kicked things off. So 50 years is a long time.
Yeah.
Been through a lot of transition, seen a lot of change, and most definitely the treatment for those with chronic kidney disease is progressed a huge amount. But at the same time, the charity has as well. So we've moved forward. We have that rich history of supporting research that remains with us as an organisation. But also now we focus on education and awareness, supporting kidney patients with financial support as well, which is we're realising is really important right now with the cost of living crisis that's going on. We're getting more and more requests in that area. But yeah, being a small charity, proud, rich history, and sort of leading on campaigns like the organ donation opt-out law that Wales led on for the whole of the UK, and other nations have followed since. So small charity doing a lot of good over that 50-year period as well, which is great to see.
Yeah, and it's crazy because, from my own personal experience, but from doing these as well, it's crazy how those 50 years, just so much has changed, and the knowledge that has developed is just, it sometimes seems stupid, but crazy how that was what people used to go off advice, and then because of research and how different it is now, the treatment.
It is. I mean, without doubt, the progression is immense. Not only from a medical side in terms of the medical treatment, organ donation, dialysis units across all of Wales now, but also the sort of longer term social support that's offered. But at the same time, it's also a bit daunting to look at it about how little public awareness there is around kidney disease, how little public awareness there is around organ donation and the benefits that brings people. So there's still clearly a role for us in the other kidney related charities that exist across the UK to keep plugging that gap. But there's still plenty of work to do, I think, in that area as well, which is good and bad in many ways, really.
Yeah, no, very true. And I suppose, how did you get to managing director? What's the backstory there?
It's an interesting one. It's a long story as well, really. I mean, I've been with Kidney Wales just over 2 years now. I actually joined them in the midst of the pandemic, which is an interesting time to join an organisation, both professionally and personally, really, with everything that's going on. But I suppose if I take you back further, I sort of joined the third sector in like 2011, so sort of 12 years ago now. Probably like most people, didn't necessarily look at the third sector as a career path initially when I left uni. I left uni in 2005, some time ago that is now, to be fair, but left uni in 2005 and flitted around a number of jobs, mainly around project management, but within the research setting. So research setting of a university initially, and then moved into the pharmaceutical world. And I pretty quickly realized that that wasn't for me. Whilst that sort of pharma research world is about support of patients long term, ultimately it's about revenue and income, which wasn't sort of where I was in terms of my personal values. So moved out of that sector and sort of got a joint funded role with the local authority and the NHS back in England, actually. And that was to establish a service that supported stroke survivors. So stroke survivors, rehab, coming into the gym setting and going on a physical rehab process. And I absolutely loved it, that close connection with people, seeing the difference you could make, but encouraging their progression and development and independence post sort of health scare was massively rewarding for me. And that sort of opened up my eyes a little bit. And like most things, unfortunately, funding was withdrawn. So I was in a position where I was looking for a job, and I sort of really knew where I wanted to go now. Wanted to be in that environment of supporting people, and a role within the third sector came up, project management again, back in Wales. So jumped at it, and it was a bit of a baptism of fire, really. Project management role, new project, team I'd never met, and just sort of handed the baton and go, off you go and leave with it. So that was my first dip into the third sector, and I've been here ever since. And probably like most people in the third sector, we're not in it for the pay. We're in it because it matches our values. We want to make a difference. We really want to support people, and it's a sort of a bit of a true calling in many ways. And so I spent some time with a couple of other third sector organisations, and on a personal level, sort of thought I definitely want to maintain a contact with those that we're supporting, but if I could progress my career, can I have greater influence from a more senior strategic role? And sort of that's where I suppose I rose in the organisation I was in, and had a bit of a spell as an interim director for another charity, and loved it. I loved the responsibility it brought. I love the challenges it brought as well. But it was a UK-wide charity, and
big difference.
big difference, big charity. And as I think others have said to you, that I think that's what people don't realise with the third sector. There's a big spectrum of smaller charities to medium to really large. I mean, one I worked in was bringing in 12 million a year, and it's classed as small. And that now to me is a huge amount to what we're at with Kidney Wales. But I sort of realised there were challenges about that push and pull around the UK direction, very England centric, and even though health has devolved in Wales was sort of put at the back of the queue, really, which was a frustration. So saw the role with Kidney Wales come up, and had a bit of interaction with Kidney Wales in the past as well, and thought, well, let's give it a go. And sat here successful with the interview process, and loving every minute of it, to be fair.
No, it's great. I mean, it's obviously we've met before, and I've met some of the team, and it seems like a really lovely, and you are small. I think I met majority of the team.
You have.
But it seems like a really nice, close-knit, team that everyone really works really hard to achieve what you want to achieve. And I've seen the goals that you've got in place, and it seems really it's done a good job, and it seems like you're on that right upwards path.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's what I've really relished, actually, being in what you could argue structurally a smaller team. We are a really small team, as you just said. You've met all of us. There's some 6 of us. That's it, and it hasn't been that many for the whole time I've been here. But to have everybody on the same page and really all buy into what we're trying to achieve and share the same values and deal with the challenges that arise together has allowed us to probably achieve more than would be expected for the size we've got and the income that we generate. And ultimately that comes from putting the people that we're here to support at the forefront of what we're doing. So kidney patients, every decision we make, we try to sort of put that at the forefront of what we're doing. And definitely it is a good environment to be working in. And I'm really liking it. To be fair.
Yeah. Fab. And I suppose this kind of leads on to my next question, and it's probably a question that you hate getting asked, but what would you say your biggest lesson that you've learned since being in this position? What would you say that is?
it could probably talk for an hour on just that, to be fair. I think there's number of lessons that I've learned in the last 2 years. Some of them have sort of re-emphasized what my initial sort of thoughts and vision were, to be fair. But I think the main one is, and I say it could sound a little bit cliche, but I think it's really relevant, is to not lose sight of what you exist for as a charity. Yeah. So always do think of what you're doing and how it will impact the people that you're here to support. And that's challenging sometimes, because you've got your board of trustees, you've got your team, you've got yourself with your vision, you've got all the people that you support, who all have a different idea and lived experience as well. But I think that's, if you can maintain that truth, you don't go far wrong, really. It doesn't mean things are easy, and it doesn't mean that everyone will always agree with you as well. When you're in that sort of leadership role, I think you have to be comfortable with that. That not everybody will always agree with you or jump on the side of what you're trying to do. But as long as you can back it up with reason, that it's not just a random whimsical process, but you draw it back to who you're here to support. And I think that's a big re-emphasized sort of message for myself. It's something I've always believed in, but something that's been really nailed home in the last 2 years. And you get that from maintaining contact with the people that you support. Yeah. Straddling that strategic and operational sort of tightrope is hard as a leader, because if you become too detached and too strategic, how can you really know what direction to take the organization in, because you haven't got that grounded experience? So you've got to manage it, but you also can't be too operational, because then you lose the strategic focus. So it definitely maintaining contact and with the people you're here to support is a big one. Like I said, there's a big long list, to be fair, but I think if I was just to add anything else, that I think it's being authentic as well, being yourself, being comfortable with being vulnerable as well, and being comfortable with not knowing everything all the time and not being the expert in everything all the time. You want to surround yourself with people who are experts in the area that you're working in, and trusting them. That's definitely a big learning thing, and allowing people to sort of thrive on that responsibility is a key thing for me, most definitely.
Yeah, no, that's really nice to hear, and I think it's a lot of these interviews has been very much, along the similar lines of, staying close to the people you're helping with, and understanding why the charity's there, and what your end goal is, I suppose, isn't it? And keeping that in focus.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it is, and it can't be. I mean, again, I don't think many people in the third sector hold this value, but it's not about you as an individual, really. It's not about me as the MD of Kidney Wales. It's about the team that we've got, and again, about the people we support. And I think you mentioned it earlier, but creating that environment that allows your team to excel. So whether it be flexible working or different hours of working, or again, the third sector struggles to sort of match the private sector in terms of salary levels. But if you can create a work-life balance for your team, then they're far happier. They can excel at what they're trying to do, and buy into what you're trying to do as well. So that openness and honesty goes a long way for that as well. But definitely, and I think it helps huge amount. Yeah.
No, definitely. And again, this is, I know you said you had loads of points on that last one, but talking of now what you're most proud of, and again, I can imagine that's a very difficult one, but this could be in your career, but also your time at Kidney Wales. Is there any kind of key points that's moments that stick out? And
I think so. I think in terms of Kidney Wales, it's, again, as you say, there's a number. I think joining in a period of real uncertainty, both operationally, but also for the kidney community as a whole, that pandemic period was really uncertain, and just not sure things about the vaccine, where to turn, and just prior to me joining, the board of trustees had to make some really difficult decisions, and we had to go through a restructure process. So stepping into that with all that sort of external uncertainty, I'm really proud to be able to sit here now and say we've got a full team of staff, but that everybody is working really well. A lot of work's gone on behind the scenes to sort of change that culture within the organisation, that integration, that challenging one another as well. I'm super proud of that. But I think, sort of in terms of outgoing, I'd say finding our identity, really
Yeah.
nailing down
Nice.
what it is we do as a charity in terms of supporting those in the kidney community, and doing it really well. So, as I mentioned earlier, the financial support, working closely with NHS colleagues who make the financial grant applications, turning them around really quickly, because there is a cost of living crisis. Being able to get food vouchers out within days to individuals, or approve larger grants is going to help someone's independence, or process a grant for a family that are caring for someone under 18 with kidney disease, and allowing them a bit of respite in time to themselves or time with their family as well. So,
Yeah.
but also the patient support that we've been able to increase and offer over the last sort of 12 months as well is a big thing. So huge amount of things really. But and I couldn't not mention our new website as well, to be fair. That's been definitely a labor of love over the last 6 months. But again, lots of individual things make up the whole perspective of where we're at, that I'm really proud of, and just the team as a whole. I think to come from where they were to where we are now is something I'm super proud of, actually.
Yeah, that's really nice to hear. You've got a great team, and they do, I can see that they do a lot and work super hard, but they really enjoy it. They always are so happy and so, motivated, and enjoy, their work. And like you said, it is all about that as well, and making sure, and that's how the team works well in achieving what you guys are achieving.
Definitely. I mean, we all spend so much time in work, don't we? And you've got to enjoy what you're doing. It's hard in the third sector to balance that as well with sort of keeping away burnout, because we're in it because we want to make a difference, and you can go above and beyond to the point where you burn out, and then you just can't achieve. But yeah, you've got to enjoy what you're doing at the end of the day, as well as put that professional hat on, and an expertise hat when needed, and do the normal stuff. So that good team environment is key, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And again, it's probably a weird one, because we've come out of such a difficult time when you first started with Kidney Wales. But what would you perceive kind of to be, the biggest challenge at the moment within, the charity sector is facing?
Yeah, it's probably come up in your other chats as well, I imagine. But funding is always a challenge. Funding is always a challenge to the third sector, and it's quite sad that it's always a challenge in a way, because I don't know if there's always a full recognition about how third sector organisations are funded. I know through conversations I have, a lot of people think that they're statutory funded, so government funded, or local authority funded, or health board funded, and that happens in small amounts, but it's not the sort of given. So that's always going to be a challenge, and tied into that, the fact that we're sort of in this weird environment where we're pitched against one another for that funding. So procurement, tendering, going for funding through sort of grant applications, it's hard when you don't work in collaboration. So I think one of the challenges is, how do we better work collaboratively as a sector? And I know it's spoken about a lot, and there's some awesome examples of the third sector organisations working together, but it's a push and pull, because the environment that you're wrapped around sort of almost encourages you to work individually. So definitely finding ways and mutual ways of working together, and things that you're both aligned to is something to work on. But that doesn't happen overnight, and then you might get a funding bid that comes up, and like, oh, it's asking for a consortium, or it's asking for partnership working, and you're like, oh, who do we turn to? Where do we pull that from? And you just can't get that level of trust overnight. So it's like playing the long game, but certainly funding post pandemic is a big issue, and dare I mention, sort of like the removal of the EU funding from a lot of charities is hard. But don't want to dwell and say it's all finances, but that's a big chunk of it.
It is a big part. I think I see that a lot, and it is a really difficult thing to face and have to deal with when you want to achieve something, and it's just not being able to, because you might need some help, and like you said, it all takes time. It's not a quick turnaround in that aspect.
It's definitely not. It's definitely not. And we're probably not the best as sort of a sector. It's sort of really shouted about what we do as well, in terms of as I've mentioned, like the financial support we offer. That's all given mainly through a small amount of grants, but fundraised income. And that support then stops people plugging back into local authority or NHS or statutory services because they're getting it from us as a third sector organisation. But if we're not shouting about that as being key part of the system, the third sector is often forgotten, and I think it's seen sometimes as the bit tagged on the end. It's just a nice thing to do where that's not really the case. We're really providing key support for those individuals in the community that they weren't accessing third sector support or kidney Wales support, then they'd probably be knocking on the door of their GP or their other NHS services or social workers, which obviously is a challenge for the statutory services, which we all know are swamped right now as well.
Yeah, they are. They definitely are. But yeah, obviously then the moving forward, you know, what are you most excited about that's happening within the sector, or I suppose Kidney Wales? You know, have you got anything that's coming up that you're raring to go for and ready to get stuck into?
Definitely. I think we just missed organ donation week. Literally was last week, so we pushed out a lot of stuff on organ donation week, and I think from that awareness raising element, it is a key area for us as an organisation moving forward. I mentioned right at the beginning, very few people seem to really be aware of kidney disease still. Very few people seem to know where their kidneys are when we do sort of surveys or our partner organisations do some surveys, and so that's something we're working on at the moment behind the scenes, looking at maybe next financial year, potentially the opportunity of running a public awareness campaign for Wales around that, which is something I think is needed, because when was the last time you saw anything around kidney disease sort of across all of Wales, if ever? Not a lot.
Tell you.
That's it. So I think that's something I'm quite excited about, and I think definitely coming back to sort of what we're here, why we exist, is what other forms of support we can offer moving forward as well. Is it keep talking to the team about no ideas should be taken off the table. So let's listen to that insight. Where are the gaps in? Can we plug them? Whether that's in collaboration or just through the work of Kidney Wales, but how do we plug those gaps in? We need to sit down and plan that and start being ambitious enough and confident enough to go for funding to do so. And attached to that, our volunteering work as well. I'm really excited about growing our volunteer ambassador work and expanding the work we're doing in the volunteering field. I mean, 2 years ago, we had 0 volunteers. We've been through a process where we were able to recruit 30 ambassadors and had to sort of put the project on pause a little bit, but now that's up and running with a new member of staff who's hit the ground running really well. And I'm excited to sort of, again, that's a factor of raising that awareness, having ambassadors with lived experience going out into the community, businesses, schools, health services as well, and talking about kidney disease and raising that profile and awareness. So I'm excited about that, I think.
Wow, sounds like a lot of exciting stuff, and it'd be nice to see it all come to life and I suppose get going. And I know that you mentioned obviously the at the start your shift from not being in the third sector, never thinking this is where I'm going to spend my career and this is where I'm going to develop, and gone from a project manager to a managing director. But what would be your top 3 tips to tell someone who might want to join the sector or has been thinking about it for a bit and doesn't know whether to take the plunge and things like that? What would you say?
I think the first one would be don't rule going back to what I mentioned earlier, don't rule the third sector out because you think it's a step backwards or a step down away from private or sort of statutory services. The third sector is a really professional run sector, doing a huge amount of good for individuals. And sort of tying into that, try to find somewhere that matches your personal values. So do you want to be in a UK-wide organisation, or do you really want to be somewhere that can focus on Wales-specific issues, Wales-specific support, and have that flexibility? But definitely somewhere that matches your values, I think, is a key one. The sector really is value-driven, 100%. As I mentioned already, we are not in the sector because we want to take away a big pay packet at the end of the month. We're in it because we love what we do and we genuinely want to make a difference. And again, that can sound a little bit cliche, but that's why we're here. That's sort of our why. That's why we get up every morning, face the challenges that exist and push through them. So definitely find something that matches your values. But the sector's really flexible. I think it's a top tip of it is if you're looking to find somewhere that balances your work and life, ideally, creates an environment that allows you to work at your best, but values your personal life as well. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to be working 24/7. It creates burnout. It creates disenchantment, I think, with a lot of people, and then go, oh, this isn't for me. And it's hard in the sector because you want to make a difference, so you put that extra into it. But yeah, find an organization that sort of recognizes that, and whilst salary levels might not be super high, look at the other benefits that it can bring, such as well-being days, as I mentioned, flexibility, that team unity, home working, if that works for you, hybrid working. There's that opportunity post-pandemic where more organizations are doing that, which allows you to sort of look for jobs that you might not have done beforehand because they might have been out of area. So for example, we recently closed our office that was based in Cardiff, home-based, which means that anybody across Wales, when a job opportunity arises, can apply for us, where it would have ruled a lot of people out. So I think there's some key things, and never sell yourself short. I think never think you're just this role or that role, or that your voice doesn't matter. Your voice always matters, and have that confidence to bring that at whatever level you're working at, I think is a key thing if you're looking to join the sector, definitely.
Yeah, and off the back of that, I find it, it's I get a lot of, as a recruiter, a lot of weird and wonderful roles that would just never, ever happen within the private sector. And I think it's really nice that you can venture out so much, but still be doing, what you love, whether that be project management or, finance or whatever, but you can have a real twist on that role and make it so much more exciting and different. And I found that a lot while working, roles within the charity sector, that there's a lot of weird but wonderful roles that really allow you to kind of find a new love for what you're doing and really try new things. And it's not many other sectors would have got that flexibility that can allow you to do that.
Definitely that ability to encourage creativity. I had a conversation earlier, actually, funny enough, very much along those lines, about sort of previous roles where someone's in and they're very descriptive, and they'd send information over to someone, and that the person they'll send it to would rewrite it, and that was great for their confidence or their ability. But you sort of think, well, why are you employing people if that's the case? Whereas this is all about taking on that responsibility, being creative, and bringing your ideas and thoughts to roles as well. You definitely get that within the third sector. And I think what's the worst that can happen? You can try something and it doesn't work out, and you can move on. I think that's another thing. Never be afraid to sort of branch out or take yourself out your comfort zone. I've had that conversation a lot with people. Or can I apply for that role because it's a higher grade, or should I take that role because it's a step back to move forward? And why not? If that's what is going to take you to where you want to be. And at the same time, if you don't want to progress, that's cool as well. If you're happy with what you're doing, there's no problems with that whatsoever. But don't be afraid to back yourself. I think it is a big thing, and the third sector has a lot of support around that, which is great.
A lot. So I can completely agree with that. There's a lot of support there, and I suppose this kind of relates to it, but you've come a long way. You probably didn't think you would be where you are, as a managing director of Kidney Wales now. So what advice would you give your younger self, knowing what you know now, whether it be about the sector, whether it be about just you as a person and the development there? But is there any advice you've managed to think of?
Definitely would tell myself a few things moving forward. I think looking back, I would say always believe in yourself, and don't be afraid to challenge the status quo. I think if you truly believe in a particular area, a particular thing, or certain values, don't sell yourself to progress your own career. Stick to what you believe in, because you can move on, you can move sideways, you can move backwards to move forwards. I certainly think, reflecting on my time and my progression, there were times where I thought, I've got to do this because it will help my career development, and ultimately no one really was that worried about it,
Yeah.
and it sort of benefited others and not myself, and I maybe lost my way a little bit. So
Yeah.
staying true to yourself is a key thing. I think I would definitely look back and tell myself, and tied to that is find ways to get things done. I think we've probably all been there where we vented, we've complained, we've kicked off about things, and then you put all that energy into that. And don't get me wrong, I think there's definitely a time and place to vent and get things off your chest and put them out in the open. But ultimately, put your energy into getting things done. So be very solutions focused. If there's a problem, find a way to work around it. There's no point blowing up, losing your energy. Just finding a way to work forward and move. People don't do things on purpose or make mistakes on purpose. So finding that solution as a way of moving forward is a key thing. I definitely think if I went backwards and told myself that a few years ago, I'd probably not be as stressed as I was at some point in my careers, definitely.
Yeah, no, really good advice. And I think you know, it's, again, you never know where you might end up. So it's good to kind of have that reflection and look back, because you know, there might be the future managing director of Kidney Wales or another third sector charity that thinks I will never be doing that, and then they might be. So it's yeah, it's some nice kind of advice to give, and hopefully that will help someone moving forward in their third sector career. But thank you very much anyway, Ross. Was there anything else that you wanted to mention or talk about, if there's anything coming up within Kidney Wales over the next few months?
No, nothing particularly in the next few months. I mean, we've got World Kidney Day will be coming in March next year, so 24. Keep your eyes on that. And as I said, we're looking towards a sort of public awareness campaign in the future as well. But yeah, we've just redesigned our website. So if anyone wants to drop into the Kidney Wales website and have a look at that, and if anybody needs any support, family members or friends, individuals that they know are experiencing kidney disease, or you just want a little bit more, get on the website, have a look, and reach out to any of us at the team. We're really approachable, so we're happy to speak if needs be. But likewise, if there's any businesses looking into this this conversation we're having, Izzy, and they want to hear a talk from one of our ambassadors as well, reach out to us and we can sort that out as well. That'll be great.
Amazing. Yeah, well, we can put all the links in the newsletter that we have below anyway, and you know, they can either reach out to myself or you directly if that's the case. But it's been lovely to have you on, and been really informative, and I think we'll get this out over the next few weeks, and it'll be great. But yeah, thank you very much, Ross.
No, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.